CrossFit is entering the preliminary stages of a sale.
Yeah. So
have you heard that? Do you want to be helped, hugged, or heard? Have you heard
yeah, they
that?
taught us that in the Marine Corps. She has said, "Daddy, how are you doing? Did you have a hard day at work today?" And I could tell she just she could see it on my face or feel it in my energy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the CrossFit Podcast, where we welcome guests who are making the world a fitter and healthier place. My name is Denise Thomas, and our guest this week is none other than the head honcho himself, CrossFit CEO, Don Fall. Now, yes, we all know him as the CEO of CrossFit, but I wanted to get a little peek under the hood and get to know the person behind the title. So today we're going to peel back some of the layers from his personal life to the future of CrossFit. And I ask about the sale of the company, the 2025 Open, and then we got to chatting about more personal things like how he navigates life's challenges, and then the really important stuff, such as how he got once kicked out of his 4-year-old soccer game. Yep, Don did that. So without further ado, please join me, and here is my conversation with Don. So, how did you do in the Open?
I did okay in the Open. I was a little, honestly, I was kind of nervous for the Open this year because I felt like my fitness in the last year has not been great. And I ended up retesting 2 of the workouts because my performance was not awesome. So, it was awesome. I did better than I thought. And had a couple moments in the Open that were super frustrating. That'll be good motivation for this year to get my bar muscle ups dialed in before next year. And got to experience the Open in 3 different places, which was just super cool.
Which 2 did you redo?
The first and the third.
First and the third.
I should have redone the second one too. But
I did a little comparison between me and you. We are different genders, but we are in the same age bracket.
Okay.
45 to 49. And not for nothing, Don, but you're 856th in the Open, which you said you're not as fit, but you're fitter than you were last year based on this. Different tests, but, you're climbing.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And I, not to rub it in, I'm 332nd in the world. Now, we're not going to talk about how many people signed up in my category versus yours. It's irrelevant. What matters...
You beat me. Straight up.
I beat you. But...
That's right. Well, now I got more motivation for next year.
You beat me on every workout, though.
Okay, I'll take that.
You got done... I looked at your score. I think you got done in 1911. Did you redo it since then? Or was that your redo?
I did not. No, that was, I think 1915. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that was my second.
That's close. That's when you get on that row where you're like, oh, I have to go.
Totally. Exactly. It's not a given that I was going to finish. So extra suffering.
It was so bad. I got off the row and I was just yelling, no, for a minute. No. Yeah. It was bad. Yeah. God bless people.
There were a bunch of folks there who were nice. So I retested yesterday morning, and there were a bunch of folks there kind of cheering me on at the end. And they're like, hold, 1,200. And I was like, there is no way in hell. And then they kept lowering their expectations. They're like, hold 11, hold 1,000. Just don't fall off.
Don't stop.
Exactly.
Isn't that the worst when people say that just because you don't want to let them down, but you physically cannot. And you're just like, I'm trying.
Yeah. And you're both grateful for them and very angry at them.
Yes.
I was like, 1,200? That's a ridiculous expectation for me right now. But,
Well, last thing I'll ask you on this. What did you row on your first row? The first exposure to the row? What was your calories an hour?
I think I probably averaged about 1,100, I would say.
Okay.
I was trying to keep the pace between 1050 and 1,100, pretty slow. Keep my heart rate. I'm not a great rower. The row is the hard part of that workout for me.
Oh, really? The wall walks were really hard for me. I thought I was going to face plant every time, but I started my row
twice.
Yeah, that I don't think I could. I wasn't ready. I said this to Nicole Christensen and Eric O'Connor on our post open chit chat. I imagine that workout's very close to how a woman would feel during childbirth. Now, I don't have any children, but I imagine when you have a baby, you're like, never again. That was traumatizing. But then in a couple of days, you've forgotten. Is it a couple of days,
Yeah.
people? I don't know. Put it in the comments. A couple of days. I could go again.
I'm going to choose not to comment on that comment. I've made comments like that before to my wife when someone asked us, like, how is the childbirth? And I was like, wasn't that bad. Didn't take that long. And that did not go over well. So
let's run it back. We can do it. Go team. So who's fitter? Is you or Dave fitter? Is he in your age? He's in your age.
I mean,
group.
come on. Yeah. I mean, I like how you asked that question. Like, you don't know the answer to it.
Trying to,
I will say, like,
some love.
if you got points for talking smack, he'd be just crushing me. But the performance during the actual workout,
you got him.
Hold my own.
All right. Well, Don, welcome to the show. I suppose I have to say welcome, right? I got to say welcome to the show. Many of our listeners will know you as the CEO of CrossFit. We definitely want to talk about that. You are the boss hoss of, you're paving the way for the whole thing. But I think I'd really love to spend some time getting to know a little bit behind the curtains for you. I did listen to your Jocko podcast, which was awesome. I was like, wow, this is 3 hours long. And I really enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the black and white. I think that black and white makes everything look better. So we should probably do that on this.
And it's like, that whole thing is like that was super fun, by the way. And congrats on making it 3 hours. Like, you could have run a marathon in the time it takes to get through
not
that.
Me.
Well, I'll give you credit for these. But it's super. Jocko has this like blacked out room that it feels like you're getting taken into an interrogation chamber, which I guess you kind of are. But it's in the back of his gym down there. It's a cool space.
It is cool, and he's really good at what he does. I enjoy these questions, and I think I'd really love to dive into some of that stuff pre-CrossFit too, because not everybody will have seen that podcast. And we can't assume that. So there was just some really cool stuff in there. I'd love to dig deep in and get in. But yeah, so wow, CrossFit. There's always so much going on in CrossFit. Since the beginning of time, it's truly unknown and unknowable, constantly varied. I'll just keep throwing all the taglines out. There's always something. It's never dull. And that's what keeps it ticking. But our community is so passionate and we love them for it. We love you guys for it. Yeah. A lot of opinions. I include myself in that. I always know what's best for CrossFit, Don. I sit upstairs by my desk and I'm like, this is what CrossFit should do. This is where we should go. And this is exactly how we should do it. But I don't know how to do it, really. I have all these things. And I'm just wondering, how do you make the decisions when there are so many opinions in our community?
Yeah. I mean, as you touch on, we've got this incredibly passionate community. I've never seen anything like it, and I think for a lot of folks, it's grounded in like the fact that CrossFit, truly changes people's lives. It has such a profound and fundamental impact that I think it ends up becoming something that people associate with their identity. It's how they view themselves in the world. Like, they have such a strong connection to it. And that's obviously an amazing thing. Like, most brands, companies would kill to have that type of passion and love. And I think it's a huge part of why CrossFit has had such incredible success and impact over 2 decades, right? Something that's, kind of unheard of in our industry. But it comes with its challenges, right? Like, people in our community feel invested, they feel ownership, they have really strong perspective and opinions on what CrossFit should be. And, that can make, certain decisions really challenging. There's a lot of scenarios in which, when we are confronted with how to handle and approach something, we know that, ultimately whatever decision we make, right? Because there's lots of opinions, but there are a few where the community has the same opinion. So you often have very different points of view that people hold just as strongly about what the right thing is. So it just leaves us in a place where we know, hey, we've got a call to make, and we know that whatever we choose here, we're going to have a part of this community who is upset, frustrated about the call that we make. So, for us, that, I think that means we've got to be really thoughtful with how we approach decisions, especially important ones. It's got to be grounded in, real clarity around who we are. I know Nicole was your first guest, and Nicole and team have just done exceptional work on our brand fundamentals, how we think about who we are as CrossFit, what makes us special and unique. That's a really important part of how we think about and make decisions, our values. We try to make sure on important decisions that we get a lot of different perspectives. I'd say both within our team and within the community. The affiliate council is a great example of that. So we stood that up about a year ago, and they're just an invaluable resource to get a point of view on, hey, how should we think about X, Y, and Z? And from really seasoned, experienced owners who love CrossFit, they can weigh in with their perspective. We've got to have, courage and conviction. Again, it can be hard, when we know a decision that we make is going to be met with frustration or resistance, but, we can't be paralyzed by that. So we've got to have, the courage of our convictions around decisions. And then, I think finally we have to know and appreciate that we're not going to bat 1,000. We got to do our best to get it right, but, we're going to miss sometimes, and we've got to have the humility and self-awareness, to be able to hit pause and say, you know what, maybe we didn't get that right, and, be able to make changes over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you make a really good point about, it's not just that there are a lot of opinions, but they're all different. And when you said that, I smiled because it's kind of like coaching a CrossFit class. It'd be so easy to coach a CrossFit class, not so easy, but easier to coach a class if everybody was the same ability, with the same experience, the same strength, and you're constantly showing up and okay, well, I have to find a solution really for all these people, but somebody somewhere is going to probably get the less attention. And that's hard. I don't know what that's like. And I know the buck stops with you. I'm sure there's a lot of people that you discuss things with, but ultimately you're the one that says, hey, this is the thing. And how do you manage that pressure? Like, what do you do personally to just take yourself out of this responsibility for a second and be like, okay, I need to find center. Do you have any kind of practices or rituals or anything like that?
Yeah, but a big part of what I try to do is, make sure I've got folks who can be a sounding board. Folks who know me well. My wife has been the biggest one for me, and my wife and I met early in our career and have, huge respect for her perspective. She's in it enough to have context, but also, has a little bit of arm's length, and she knows me so well. So she's just an amazing sounding board to help at times kind of push on me and be like, gosh, that doesn't feel right or sound right, or you don't feel convicted about this. And she's been, incredibly supportive for me. And she's just someone I know that I can really let my guard down and be real with when I'm frustrated or anxious or, wavering on something. I can be really real with her. This will sound like cliche, but honestly, my affiliate, I don't know that I would have made it through the last year or two without, my affiliate and CrossFit, and both the outlet physically to be able to go and just turn my brain off for an hour and suffer and sweat and, get the satisfaction out of, having a little bit of an outlet, to community there who actually knew me first as Don, the meathead that showed up at 6 a.m. and, knew me later as someone who worked at HQ. And they're awesome too. They all, you've got folks there who love CrossFit, and we have enough of a relationship where, they've got their perspective, but I know they've got my back. They've been so supportive over the last few years. And so that has been on a whole host of levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, so therapeutic for me, such a resource for me. And I know that, CrossFit's that for a lot of people, right? That hour of your day where you can unwind and de-stress and just be around people in an environment that, is just 100% supportive of you. So those are like two of the biggest things. And then from time to time, I'd say, trying to also, I like to get outside besides my affiliate. So I like to ski. I like to cross country ski. I like to run. And that also has been a great outlet for me to get a little bit of time to decompress and a little bit of distance to think through things. And, get my mind right, if we're going through a particularly challenging or stressful time.
Mm-hmm. Is your affiliate, did they, when you became the CEO of CrossFit, I'm just trying to imagine myself being a member and affiliate, and then one day you're Don the Meathead, goes to the 6 a.m. class. And we could talk about what kind of member you are in a second. I'm curious,
Uh-oh.
like, are you a pain in the ass, or, are you a goody two shoes? But, and then the next day you're Don, the CEO of CrossFit. Did anybody in your affiliate, did they, I don't want to say treat you differently. I'm sure they didn't, but was there a different vibe for you there? Was it weird at first? Were they asking you questions about things?
It's funny. I didn't tell anyone ahead. So it literally, I had to take in the job. So I literally, I started during the games, actually, like first day of the games back in 22. And so I showed up a week later and walked back into the affiliate. And I'd gotten a few text messages from them where they're like, WTF and,
no heads up. Thanks, Don.
Exactly. Thought we were friends. And, a bunch of really nice congratulatory notes. The cool thing, though, is honestly beyond the initial, like, hey, congrats. It was like nothing was different and nothing had changed. And I'd say 90% of the time, we'll talk about stuff here and there, if there's something going on, or, they love hearing about, how was the open announcement and this and that. But, by and large, it's the same dynamic. This group of guys, I've trained with a same group for a decade now, over, across 2 affiliates. And it's kind of the same most days that it has been for the last 10 years. Just good friends getting after it. We've got the same little competitive dynamic that exists, the same smack talking that's gone on for a long time. So there's something about that that's been really awesome, actually, that it hasn't changed at all.
I think you were 4th on the leaderboard in your affiliate. Does that sound right?
That sounds about right. Somewhere in that range.
Yeah. And are those people that finished above you, are they in your 6 a.m. class?
2 of them are, and one of them is a 5 a.m. Yeah, we've got some real, they are legit fit. And our affiliate owner, actually, too, one of our affiliate owners, we have, there's 2 owners. They're both crazy fit. So one former regionals athlete, and then we have one of our owners is 62, and he's a crazy fit athlete, semi-final stage athletes, like, in the range of going to the games. So it's, those guys set a high bar.
Mm-hmm. Those at 5 a.m. and 6 a.m.ers, they're not for the faint-hearted. Let's put it that way. You mentioned that your wife is a really great support system for you, and you have your close friends at the affiliate. When you're going through a hard time, is it easy for you? Is your wife's name Kate? Is it Kate? Is your wife's name Katie? Okay, Katie. Can she just tell? Can she just tell when something's up? And is she the support system? Ashley, my wife, will just be like, "What is it?" And I'll be like, "Nothing. It's nothing." She's like, "I got 5 minutes. Let's go." And is she kind of tough in that way, or is it more of a, do you want to be helped, hugged, or have you heard that? Do you want to be helped, hugged, or heard? Have you heard?
Yeah, they taught us that in the Marine Corps. No, just kidding. But
was it hugs? You liked hugs, I'm sure. You like,
I always chose hugs. That's right. Exactly.
Yes, sir. Hugs, sir.
My wife's somewhere in between. She, similarly, she knows me super well, and I get. It sounds like maybe a little bit like you. When I'm stressed or frustrated, I get quiet. That's my thing, and I don't know if that's constructive, but that's kind of how I work. And I will never be the person who's like, "Hey, can we sit down and talk about this?" Sometimes I'll bring stuff up, but mostly it's me kind of brooding. And so Katie will, she's been awesome about, she'll just check in, like, how's it going? What are you working on? And like, that will be the avenue to, okay, like you want to talk through that. And yeah, so we've kind of settled into that routine. And then there will be times when I'll proactively like, hey, I'm really wrestling with this. Like, do you mind if we just talk it through?
Yeah. I'm like you. I get quiet, but it can be misconstrued as moody. Be like,
Mm,
I'll be like moody, but I'm not. I'm just like, I don't want to talk. And then your
mm,
people know, they know. Is that so?
totally.
In your role as CEO, you have to have confidence when you make these decisions. Where does your confidence come from?
Mm. Yeah, good question. You do have to have confidence, but I would also say that like I think the leaders who I have admired the most have confidence bounded with enough humility that they really think through that there's like, hey, um, I need to make sure that I'm really thinking through. I think that dose of humility and doubt, self doubt, that can't manifest once you've made a call, but through the process, I think is actually quite healthy and quite important. It helps, I think, introduce a level of rigor and self reflection and decision making that I think is really critical. For me, I think, a lot of that has just come over time with getting a lot of reps in. And, so part of it is, now and I grew up candidly, like, I grew up with a lot of imposter syndrome. I grew up with a lot of doubt. And I think that early in my life, both academically and athletically, really like I had a real chip on my shoulder. And I think that really fueled me and probably at times got in the way of me having the, what was probably an optimal level of confidence. That has faded a bit. Like there's certainly still a big dose of that. When I took this job on, that kind of resurfaced. But with it, I think having enough reps and there's a degree of pattern recognition around some things to be able to bring to the table a level of confidence around, okay, how do we approach scenarios? How do we approach decision making? How do we approach bringing a team together? And then a big part of it comes through the process. So hey, when confronted with a challenging decision or scenario, taking the time to talk to folks, to listen, to do your homework, to really think about, hey, what are the criteria? What's the framework here we're going to use to make a decision? Stress testing that decision with people who you trust. I think that is a huge part of building conviction and confidence around really hard decisions that can get you to a place where, you can move forward with conviction and confidence that, hey, even though this is a challenging decision, it's one that I have conviction around.
But it takes a village, the old
That's right.
It
Turns
takes a
out.
village, and you've got your family and your friends, but you've also got your work village. And I gotta ask, because I mean, if I don't ask you, who can I ask? Who's the biggest pain in the butt to work with at CrossFit?
Oh, wow.
I think we all know the answer.
Well, yeah, exactly. We have who's the biggest pain? It depends on the time of the year. During the open, again, I have to deal with Dave's trash talking and my concern. Here's my like conspiracy theory concern that the open is programmed to make sure I lose and Dave wins. Like the whole programming strategy is just about him trying to stack the deck in his favor. So,
I could see that.
Yeah.
But he did comment that 25.3 really crushed him.
Yeah.
So who knows? But yeah, I knew it was
back
Dave.
to the drawing board.
I want to zoom back in for a minute on you, your personal life. I said today we're gonna crack you open a little bit. You said you were from New Jersey. So
that's right.
Are you closer to New York City or closer to Philly?
Yeah, closer to New York City. So like, yeah, I grew up actually CrossFit Bison.
Oh yeah.
So have you been to Bison?
No, but they're awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that affiliate is like 3 miles from the town. I grew up in a little town called Allendale, right outside New York City, northern Jersey.
When did you leave from New Jersey? Did you go to the Naval Academy?
I did, yeah. So I grew up, lived in Jersey through high school, and then I went to the Naval Academy for college.
And what did you study there, the academy?
I studied something called systems engineering. So it's kind of a mix between like mechanical and electrical. You work on like a lot of it was control systems for weapons. So if you had like an aircraft platform, it was the engineering that pulled all those different software and hardware systems together.
Okay. And you, after the Naval Academy, you is it BTS, how it's called, basic training?
TBS. Yeah, the basic school.
BTS. Yeah. I like My Way better.
I think that's a Korean boy band, but it's very similar.
You went to and you were in the Marines for 10 years? 8 years?
About 6 years. 6 years. So I did, 6 years active duty after college. I had 5 years of leadership experience in some challenging scenarios. And while obviously the context is different, what I learned pretty quickly is, people are people. Like what inspires people, what motivates people, what people want out of their leadership, the type of leadership they're inspired by. Turns out it's pretty universal. And I had to learn how to apply it in a new environment and, not drop F-bombs every other word like I had in the Marine Corps. But it turns out beyond that, like, gosh, I had this incredible experience in the Marine Corps that was really universal and really valuable once I transitioned.
Did the F-bombs come full circle now you're back at CrossFit?
It's so liberating. I had like a decade of F-bombs stored up from my time in technology. So the poor team, just a torrent of profanity.
I was really interested in your journey through from when you left the Marines all the way up until becoming CEO of CrossFit, because you just went into things with no experience and you were gaining experience along the way. But it's funny that you said earlier that you kind of had this imposter syndrome, because your actions through what you did at Google to Facebook to Pinterest, and I'll stop there for a second, with building these teams, like huge teams, and going to different countries and starting offices up there. That doesn't look like the actions of somebody that has imposter syndrome. So you covered it up well. But then what I just wanted to ask you about, it seems to me, Don, that you like challenge, and maybe you're afraid, but you're always going to take maybe the harder route, because you had an opportunity to go to Airbnb where you could have basically just shown up and done what you were doing and made a load of money and would have been all great. Or you could have done this startup, Athos, which your friend had said to you, you'll fail. There's no way you're going to suck at this. And you're like, well, F you, I'm going this way. And I think there's just this thread of where you're like, oh, you say I can't do it. Well, and let's go. Was that always like, where did that come from? Were you like that as a kid? Like, was that through your parents, your like friends? Like, where did that?
I think definitely the foundation of it is, it was my childhood. And I think I was so blessed to be born into like, the perfect family. Like, my dad, my parents are two of the most amazing humans ever. They taught us, character was important, work ethic was important, service was important, family was always incredibly important. I remember them emphasizing with me, like, hey, what we care about is that you just do your best. So I just remember these moments of coming home with a report card and, not doing as well as I probably should have. And, my dad would look at it and he wouldn't say, oh, why'd you screw up? Why'd you get this grade in this class? Knowing I could have done better. He would just ask me, is this the best that you can do? You try your best. I'm like, oh, damn it, Dad. You know the right question to answer.
It's like, I'm not mad.
So that was
just disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so effective. So I grew up in that environment. And then athletically, like sports was really important to me. Like I really, as I was growing, my friends, your social status, right, is influenced by how good an athlete you are. And I was good, never great. I was like good enough that I could be on the teams. I was never a great athlete. And I knew pretty like in high school, it was very clear to me, like I was not going to be good enough to earn a scholarship to play anything at the next level. And that always really bothered me. That's where the chip on my shoulder came. And I think that's a lot of like, I'm going to show you. And that really kicked in for me in high school and in college, where it kind of lit this fire of like, I'm going to find the hardest thing. I'm going to study engineering. I'm going to go play rugby. I'm going to join the Marine Corps. There's the Marine, the few, the proud. That's for me. I'm going to go the reconnaissance route because that is the tip of the spear. I don't know if I can do it. A lot of my athletic stuff was fueled by that. Got into triathlons. I'm like, yep, I'll do what's the hardest one. Yep, sign me up. I don't know if that's like a feature or a defect, but that was definitely a part of my character pretty early on.
Yeah, it's interesting. We always talk about childhood, right, and how it helped you to formulate who you are today. And I have a lot of stories from back in the day where I look back now and I'm like, yeah, that was a very pivotal moment for me. And but yeah, you definitely did not get that when you joined the military, and you've not really looked back, and it brought you all the way to being like, okay, yeah, I'll be the CEO of CrossFit. Let's do this thing. But what does a CEO do?
Good question.
I'm
waiting for somebody to tell me.
Thing, and you're like, hey, you, boom, like, and what does it look like for you? What's a day in the life of you look like? And not as a CEO in terms of the business, but your life.
Yeah. I guess what is it? Maybe to start with, just what does the CEO do? Like, I think our job, obviously, ultimately, like CEO is a leadership role, and a big part of my responsibility is making sure that we as a team, as a leadership team, have a kind of clear vision and strategy for what we're trying to achieve. Can we give our team clarity so that everyone understands what success looks like, can make decisions, operate with a reasonable degree of autonomy. Huge part of my responsibility, our responsibility as leaders, is team and talent. So how do we make sure we have the best possible team on the field? So, build the best possible team, again, through that vision, and making sure there's clarity around what success looks like. There's a lot of work, around making sure that, my team, our team, is in a position to be successful. So, decisions that need to be made, areas where we need inputs, creating the conditions where, as an organization and a team, we can execute really well. And that's, I've learned in my life, my career, that is a lot harder than it sounds on paper. But how do you create an environment? Let's take our team, right? We've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 165 people, pretty small, full time. And we've got, over 200 seminar staff, fully distributed. No two people are in the same location. And we've got to collectively support this community of, over 10,000 gym owners in 150 countries, run thousands of seminars, support this global sport with a tiny, tiny team. So at the end of the day, it's how do we create the conditions where our team of 165 super talented, passionate people can have the biggest possible impact? That, in kind of, simple terms, hard to do, is my responsibility is, again, clarity of where we're going, making sure we've got the best possible team on the field, making sure we've got the for lack of a better description, operating cadence, like how we work, that supports good decision making, accountability, transparency, communication. So my average day is a mix of things that support that. So I had mentioned earlier, like, start my day most days in the gym. So I usually do the 6 a.m. class. I come home, make breakfast for our kids. Probably 3 days a week, I'll take our kids to school, come back. My day then, that drop them off around 8:30. My day usually starts with meetings then. And we do a mix of, we'll have yesterday, for example, we have what we call operating reviews. And that is a chance for each part of our business to come in and kind of read out, how are we doing against our goals? So we plan our goals out every 6 months. We set a set of targets. We have a strategy that we communicate. Yesterday we went through, so Dave talked about, hey, how are we doing on, sport? How are we doing in EDU? What's working? What isn't working? What have we learned? What are the changes that we're going to make moving forward to get kind of back on track? So big part of, my schedule, that's that type of stuff. My job in that is asking questions, pushing on things. If we're trending behind where we need to be, asking the team, hey, what's the plan to get back on track? Trying to identify obstacles. So are there areas where the team, we don't have a resource, or actually there's not alignment between two different parts of our business, and I need to help kind of reconcile that.
Do you?
I'll do one-on-ones. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna just. Do you? Are you on calls all day?
No, I'm not. I try to really deliberately, I would say probably 50-60% of my day is scheduled calls. I try to leave, create a couple hours every day to do work. So that's either like responding to stuff or just thinking and planning. So, hey, how do we think about, we're coming now on, we just wrapped up, we're getting ready to wrap up the first quarter of the year. Hey, what have we learned in Q1? What do we need to focus on for Q2? So I try to create time so I can think and do some work as well.
Yeah, it's just the remote stuff is just so hard. It used to be so much easier when you could just walk into the office next door and be like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" Um, but are you at your house right now? Is that your?
I am.
It's lovely. It looks very sunny there. It's not like that here in Massachusetts. But I saw on your Instagram handle that it says CEO of CrossFit, Marine veteran, girl dad. And I look at those profiles and I was like, people really choose carefully what they put in their profile. And one of the three things for you was like girl dad. You have three girls, right?
Correct. Yep.
How old are they? I mean, how is that? What ages are they?
They're 12, 10, and 8. It's amazing. It's funny. I grew up in a family of all boys, men. So I was, I'm one of 3 boys. My dad is one of 5 boys. My mom has 3 brothers. I have 2 brothers. Between them, they have 7 boys and 1 girl. And so, the universe had decided that I needed some more female energy in my life. So I've got 3 girls, my wife, 2 female dogs. I mean, it is full on. I'm on my own. But it's amazing. It's, they're at a really fun stage in their life right now, so they haven't fully entered teenage stage. They still want to be around me and acknowledge me.
Enjoy it.
Going through, they still love school. Sports is super fun. So our girls all play soccer and, they do volleyball and basketball. And that's just an awesome time to see them learn the things from sports that I learned growing up and see the impact that has on their confidence and social skills and all of that. So yeah, it's amazing. And it's hard. It's also like, I was joking with someone the other day. It's like the most important and hardest job you will have in your life, if you choose to be a parent, is raising kids, and you get like no training for it. It's like, here you go, figure it out.
It's kind of bonkers that you have a baby and then they just say, all right, see ya. And with totally. I mean, there is prep, I suppose, but it's never like the real thing. What are your girls' names, if you don't mind giving their names?
Actually, I don't. Yeah. Actually, I do. Try not to share some of that stuff publicly.
Let's call them Julie, Jane, and Jessie.
Perfect.
Julie, Jane, and Jessie. Do they do CrossFit with you, or do they stick to their sports at school?
They do some cross. So our last summer, I had my oldest in a CrossFit Teens class for the summer, and then actually just Friday night, I did 25.3 with my daughter. She did it next to me, with a PVC pipe and all that. So they're all getting into it.
Are you like the dad from Kicking and Screaming, that movie, the Will Ferrell movie that screams at his kid on the sideline? I don't know if I've
seen that, actually.
That's a good one.
But I'm not that. I have my moments where I can find myself getting extremely upset during my, 8-year-old soccer game. And I'm like, wait a second, why am I getting upset at an 8-year-old soccer game? But I mostly kind of rein it in. I haven't been cited by the referee in a couple of years. So.
Oh, but there has been a citation.
Yeah, there was an incident at one point early on with my oldest, actually. So we sufficiently embarrassed her and the rest of the family. So I've reined it in since then. Are
you allowed to share the details of this?
It was like me being an idiot and yelling at the ref and, on the sideline. And, at that point, she was probably like 4. I mean, it was height of ridiculousness. And he reminded me, they now make you, I don't know if you like, as a parent, you have to sign a code of conduct now, which is super smart because parents are lunatics. But yeah, that's a thing now.
I like that. I remember being a kid playing when I when I wasn't able to drive, and the parents, they got really mean at times. I think it's okay to have a little bit of that, "Rah," but yes, sign it. If you can't play nice, get out.
That's
Um,
right.
how did this role, CEO of CrossFit, impact your relationship at home? I know we talked about your wife and how she helps you through it, but for your kids specifically, um, they're they're of an age where they can kind of understand some things, I'm sure. And how do you manage that, the stress of that with them, and the joys
Yeah.
too? How has it impacted you?
Well, it's been really, on one dimension, it's been so cool to give my kids the opportunity to see CrossFit and how special the community is, and just talk about, taking my, daughter to Friday Night Lights on Friday, or meeting affiliate owners. I've taken them to, I think a summit in the past where we had a bunch of owners there, and then just talking about, what affiliate owners do and how they support people and how they serve people and the impact they have in their communities, and talking about the notion of like the whole concept of service and giving back, has been super special. Obviously, it's been really cool. My wife and I talk all the time about just making sure we're exposing our kids to adversity, like how important that is. It's such a hard thing as a parent because you want to protect your kids, but that like that adversity is so important in their development, and CrossFit's a cool way to do that, right? For our kids. It's also been really interesting for me. It's been a bit of like, particularly with the last year and how challenging it's been. I definitely had some moments, I talk to my kids all the time about, as they're struggling with stuff at school or a social thing, or, not starting in a particular game or not playing as well. And I always talk to them about the importance of like perspective and, hey, you're going to have hard moments. Like, you can't always choose your circumstances, but you can choose how you show up.
Mm-hmm.
And, talking to my daughter about, okay, you didn't play as well, or maybe you're not starting, or you didn't get picked for this side. Like, how are you going to choose to show up here? And I've had several moments where I've kind of heard myself telling my kids that at a moment where I needed to hear it, where I've had moments of like, why am I doing this? This is really, really hard. And hearing myself talk to my kids and be like, I need to take some of my own medicine. And so there have been elements of like, my girls know this job is hard. They can probably see it and feel it on me in how I show up. And I think it's really important. I think a lot about it's important that the way they see me handle adversity is going to have a big impact on their life. And so there's a shade of like the fact that this job has been challenging that I hope will end up being something, that my kids can learn from, and, will shape how they handle challenges and adversity as they grow up.
Is there anything you remember them saying to you specifically when you were in a moment of, is this something that maybe you'd said to them before and they kind of regurgitated it back?
Yeah, particularly my oldest, she's a, classic first child, wise beyond her years, very precocious. She, a couple days, she has said, Daddy, how are you doing? Did you have a hard day at work today? And I could tell she just like, she could see it on my face or feel it in my energy, and, playing back to me, hey, tomorrow will be better. Or, and just like, it's, you have those moments as a parent where you're like, whoa, like that's crazy and profound. And
This is why I have these here, Don.
There you go. There you go. Exactly.
I do. I get that stuff is. I don't have kids, but I can just imagine your child recognizing in you that you're going through a hard time, and they say something back to you that you'd said to them, and that's the impact you have on them. And I can imagine too. I'm not one to judge at all. I don't know how I would handle a high stress job, but it would be very easy to come home and lock yourself in your office and tell your wife, tell the kids, Daddy's busy. He's had a hard day, and but it seems like you're not like that. That you're able to really compartmentalize it in a healthy way, where you can come home and still have that connection? Is that like, how do you do that?
Yeah. I don't know exactly. And I think compartmentalize is right. And I think it's probably something I learned in the military. I think it's probably a benefit and that I took away from my time there. And I do, for me, a lot of how I try to approach and handle stuff like this is creating some space in different parts of my life. And I'll be honest, like early in my career, I was not good at this. There were no boundaries whatsoever.
Did you have kids
And
then at that time?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. Yeah. So like when I got, military is one thing because that is your life. I didn't have a family at that point. Gosh, I can't imagine how hard it would have been. I have so much respect for folks who continue to serve with families, for both the service members as well as their families, how hard it is. But when I got out of the military and was, my first couple of jobs afterwards, my life was work and it was the like wake up at 2 a.m. and I would check my email. It's ridiculous stuff. Like it didn't help at all. It was just super unhealthy. And, as I got married, particularly when we had kids, there was I'd say probably both a little bit of immaturity of understanding that, hey, I can create boundaries and still be great at work and be great at home. And, along the way, just kind of making a decision that there are certain things where I'm going to have hard and fast lines around this. I'm going to, when I'm done working for the day, when we're sitting at the dinner table, I'm not going to be checking my phone every 10 minutes. Like I'm going to be present and I'm not perfect on this for sure. But I think those things I've learned a lot. And my wife has helped me a lot be better at this. Of like, we have busy lives, but when we're sitting down as a family, when I'm there with my kids, I'm going to try to really be present. And, in the moments where I need a little bit of a break, where I need time, it's okay to go for a run, go for a walk. My wife and I both do this, go to the gym, get a little bit of that outlet. So when I come back, I can be present.
Was there a moment where something maybe happened and you said, okay, enough's enough. There has to be a boundary or this is not going to end well?
Yeah, I remember I can't remember exactly what she said, but I remember my daughter at one point, I think it was my oldest, she was talking to me and I was reading something on my phone, distracted. And she basically made a comment about that. Something about like, well, you're clearly not listening to me, or I guess work's more important, or, and that, like, I just remember that shattering me at the time and being like, oh my gosh, like the thing I was just looking at does not matter. And this is the impact it's having on my kids. And that was that really woke me up quite a bit to that. And trying to be better at it.
I saw this, it was on YouTube maybe, Simon Sinek, Simon, if you're listening, would you like to come on the CrossFit podcast?
Next guest.
I've
heard he's a huge Eagles fan.
Is he really?
No.
Should be. Probably is now. We need to talk. We need to carve out 20 minutes of this episode for Eagles talk. So I'll make sure we do that. But yeah, Simon he did this thing on stage where he took somebody's phone and he was just having a conversation with someone. And as they were talking to him, and he was like, right now, if you're listening in your car, you're not seeing, but I'm just looking at my phone and kind of giving a nod, and it when you sat there watching this happen, you're like, oh, wow. And we all do it. And I can only imagine what it'd be like for your daughter to say that to you of like, wow, and the fact she had the awareness and the conviction to say it too is pretty cool.
Totally.
So go Dom, what would you say to your daughters if they told you one day they wanted to be the CEO of a company?
I think my first instinct would be, we've always tried to tell our kids, in life, figure out what you love and go pursue that. Like, this, again, sounds dumb and obvious, but go do what makes you happy. And there is no objectively right or standard answer to that. Like, and I think often, like, I think for kids and even adults like me early in my career, I chased a bunch of stuff that I thought was like what success looks like, or what the next step was, or what I should do. And I was, I've been so lucky to find a lot of opportunities that I also loved. I want that journey for my kids. I want them to have, a journey where they can discover what they really love and then go pursue it. And if them coming and saying, I got the CEO job is truly what they love and what energizes them, I'd be so happy for them. If it was this perception of what I think society or you or whatever represents success, I would just want to make sure that they had really thought that through, and that step was truly the one that brought them the most happiness and fulfillment. And so, I think that would be my reaction. If it's the right thing for them, I'd be thrilled. Just wanting to make sure that they really understood what that journey looked like and would really bring them this type of fulfillment and happiness they were looking for.
So they can come to you and say, hey, Dad, I know I've heard that when you were some point in your career, it may have been before you joined Google, you decided that you wanted to just be a ski bum for a year. I think I'm going to do that, Dad, and it's my purpose. I'm going for it. We can play this back to them and say, your dad said you can do whatever you want. You're going to be the best ski bum in the West.
Well, and it's so absolutely. Now, forever, I'd probably like if they're there for a decade. But for a lot of people, like, look, I like my career. I've had this super weird journey. Like, it's not this linear, obvious. Like, again, I started in a little town in New Jersey where nobody went into the military. I was such an anomaly. I had no real deep family history of military service. I ended up at the Naval Academy. I'd spent time in the military. I went into technology. I ended up, it doesn't really on paper make any sense, but gosh, I feel so like I've had such amazing experiences in life. So, and part of that was, I bartended at a bar in Vail after I got out of the Marine Corps, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. So, I hope my kids can, get to do a bunch of stuff that is like fun and awesome, and they get to discover a bunch of stuff, and they find it, I think one of the blessings of being in the CrossFit community is, if you can make your occupation something that undeniably helps people, what a gift. Most people cannot say that, and most people do not have that.
I love it, and I think that everybody should have that time where they the whole, hey, what does success look like? Well, success, you just can't define it. I mean, you can define your own success, right? But that part of your life where, did you have long hair? Did you have were you like we need a picture of ski. I'm saying ski bum because that's what you called yourself on something. So
that's all. Hey, I'm not offended by that. That's great.
We need a picture of that. But I think that's all part of it, like you said, in your life. But before you got this job, you were, and you still are, and I say were because now you are the CEO, but you're one of us. You're a CrossFitter. Mm-hmm. You're a CrossFitter before anything else. Meathead, it was Don the Meathead is what you called yourself. Right. But how did you find CrossFit, and where did you start?
Yeah. So I found it in San Francisco. So I think it was 2014. I was working at Pinterest up in the city. I had been into triathlons for a long time. So after I got out of college, when I was still in the Marines, actually, I got into triathlon. I'd done that for a while. And then I was kind of doing the 3 days a week, 4 days a week at Equinox. I was running a lot, probably 6 days a week running. And I had a buddy of mine who I'd gone to grad school with, who I used to run with every Thursday. And he and I were running on a Thursday. It was probably like May or June of that year. And he said, hey, what do you think about CrossFit? I heard of CrossFit. And I was like, of course I've heard of it. And he said, what do you think about trying it? And I was like, well, I had a bad back. So I had some back issues from my time in the Marines and actually from doing triathlon. And I was a little reticent. I was like, I don't know if I can do it with my back. But like, let's give it a shot. And so he and I, signed up. We went to Flagship CrossFit down in San Francisco. I got absolutely destroyed. Like, holy cow. There are people here who are decades older than me destroying me. And I was just I was like, all right, everything hurt. I am determined. At some point, I will not be last in every workout.
There's that Don again.
There's that Don again. It was like literally the total hook, like humble me. And then there were all these things to learn that I didn't know how to do. Again, my movement was garbage. Like I, certainly couldn't do a muscle up at that point, any of that stuff. And then along the way started to build these relationships. So like came for the fitness and then found this community that for me was the first time for me. Like I felt like I was on a team again. Like I really missed my team sports growing up. I'm like, gosh, this, dynamic here, the relationships I'm building. So I was completely hooked. That was 2014. And that was kind of the start of it for me.
I've seen you, you're competitive. I've seen you when we've been at these affiliate gatherings where we do these little movement sections. I remember distinctly a couple of times we did some Tabata squats and I was like on the microphone and you were moving, like you were not messing around. And I would come up to you and I'd be like, Don, get lower. And some of them were a little high. That's why I was like, get lower. But there was no smiling. And you'd always have someone next to you that you were there with, like Jay DeCoons, our affiliate guy, or Austin. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, he is locked in. No joking. And I imagine that's what it's like at your affiliate. But are you, what kind of member are you? Are you a chatty one? Are you just like, hey, there's no time, let's get down to it?
Oh, probably more chatty. Like I love again, we got a group. I love the smack talking. I love there's a group of 4 or 5 of us. And there's always like, we're running our mouths the whole workout.
Great. You're the timeline sucker. That's what us coaches call people like you, which is, it's okay. You add a little flavor, but, so I did a little digging again on your athlete profile. I was like, to see how we fare up. You got me on the back squat. Even when I do the 70% thing, you still got me.
Okay.
So you got your 335. You got me on the deadlift. Fight Gone Bad, you have a 350 and I have a 345. Now, I don't know when you last did Fight Gone Bad, but I know when I did it, it's been a while. So we should do a Fight Gone Bad off. Fran, you're Fran 320. I'm 301. Got you on Fran. Also, long time ago. Grace, 220 for you. I got a 217. Also, very long time ago. Hit myself
very
in
long
the
time.
nose.
Yeah.
You get me on the 5K run. I actually don't know what my current one is. You ran a 620 mile for a 5K. You're a 1954. You got some jets. We're moving. Helen, I'm going to need to see video footage of this one. The course must have been very fast, Don. 7:57. 7:50. Yeah. You're flying.
I'll look up a day that I recorded that. We'll see what affiliate I was at.
That's fast.
That was probably many years ago, though.
Oh, well, it's okay. You did it. It's down. I think I'm like an 817. We both have 40 max pull-ups.
Ooh.
I've not tested that in a while.
Maybe we'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll do a synchro pull-up off.
Do you butterfly, do you kip or strict? I do strict chest above.
I kip.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, I don't.
I was going to say.
No. Yeah, but we should do a pull-up off next time. So you've been, you're coming up to 3 years in this role, I believe, where we are now. And how's it stacking up versus your expectations from before you took on the role? How's it going?
It's, it's funny. My first week was the games in 2022. And I remember coming in, I'd been in the community for a bit, but obviously I had not worked at CrossFit. I've never been an owner. So I had so much to learn. had a little bit of context, but not that much. And I remember coming into the role, like obviously incredibly excited about, the opportunity. I had my own personal journey, the impact of my life. I had seen it at my affiliates. So many people who had been touched by CrossFit. I certainly had, and so many people in my life who had not discovered it, that I just looking around and be like, oh my gosh, like everyone can benefit from this. And this is so profound. And so I remember coming in with so much excitement about the opportunity. I also came in, with some degree of understanding that like, this is going to be hard. CrossFit had been through a couple challenging years. I talked to enough folks where I knew that like change isn't easy in this community. It's a little bit of the piece we talked about around the passion of the community. Part of the inherent challenge in that passion is that any sort of change to this thing you love can be very uncomfortable and put people on edge. So change is hard. So I knew that coming in. I had candidly a number of folks that first week at the games who were like, congratulations, why would you take this job? It's impossible. I was like, first time I was like, oh, interesting. And then I was like, wait a second, why do people keep saying that? Look, I would say 3 years in, like, coming up on 3 years in, it is more amazing and more profound than I ever thought. So that excitement I had coming in, the opportunity, how much like society and the world needs this. I am more excited about that. And having had just the privilege and chance to talk to like you have thousands of people whose lives have been fundamentally transformed in an incredible sort of way through CrossFit. Like it's so incredible. And on the flip side, it's much harder than I thought it would be. Much harder. And, for a bunch of the stuff that we had talked about, and again, the challenge with change, some of the challenges associated with kind of, where we are, the recovery we're working through from the games last year, like it's extraordinarily challenging. So, to your point, I love hard stuff. I'm drawn to hard stuff. This is definitely really hard, but I'm also really drawn to things that are like have real meaning and impact and are rewarding. And there is nothing I've done, maybe my time in the Marine Corps accepted, where I've had the chance to work on something that's so meaningful and profoundly good for people and good for the world.
I've heard you make parallels between the people in the military and the people at CrossFit, and it really is. It's about the people, and I as you alluded to, CrossFit's been through a lot of changes, especially over this last 5 years. And when you came in, there was a lot of, oh, here's the new guy, what's going to happen now? And my first exposure to you, I want to say, maybe not actually seeing you and meeting you, but my first exposure of like, okay, who's Don? We were in Berlin. It was the semifinals, and you were there. And we get to the end of the competition, and you are on the floor pulling up the mats and helping put things away. And I save space here, Don. We're in the basement of glory. What is said in the basement of glory stays in the basement of glory. I remember thinking, is this just an act? Like, is he just doing this because there's people are watching? Like, I couldn't know. I didn't know. Because I didn't know you at all. And you helped put things away. And then later that same night, me and two of our head judges were in a little restaurant. It was probably the only restaurant that was open by the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And who's walking past the window? I was like, guys, it's the CEO of CrossFit. That's Don Fulp. And of course, we were like kind of hiding a little bit. We were like, oh gosh, like
understandably so.
Not because
don't come in. Don't come in.
We were so tired. We were like, we just wanted to relax, and we were like,
totally.
But you came in and we sat up and we like made eye contact, and you were like, hey, can I come and can I eat with you? And we were like, yeah. And it was just, honestly, it was really cool. There was two people there that never would have got the opportunity to meet you again. And it was very casual and very authentic. And you had a salad, you had a chicken salad, and we we were like, man, he's eating a salad. Do we have to get a salad? And we were like, screw that. We're getting pizza.
You had a Philly cheesesteak, if I remember properly.
Yeah, double cheese, double steak, double bread, and a Stella. No, but it was really cool. And then fast forward to the games last year, 2024. There you were again. You were on the floor, pulling up the mats. And man, I talk about you being competitive. You were sweating. I was saying this to some of the team before. I'm like, you would think that we were doing these mats for time, and you were just all in. And it was like, no, he's the real deal. He's doing this. And then when I learned a little bit more about your military background and just the way that you've led, it's yeah, it was just it was cool to see that. But I want to look ahead. We're gonna go ahead, but before we go ahead, just recently we did have some news on the CrossFit internet, shall we say? And we just announced that CrossFit is entering the preliminary stages of a sale. And
Yep.
I thought you highlighted very well on the affiliate town hall. And for people that have access to that haven't listened to it, go into your affiliate toolkit, listen to that. But essentially you said, well, there's some stages. We first have to, let me get this right. We have an advisor that we're working with, and then we will identify prospects. We will engage in conversations. We'll then eventually look at proposals. We'll make an assessment, and then the final stage will be making the decision. And you said that due to confidentiality, we won't be able to share anything. The next announcement will be when a decision has been made. So I just thought that was done really well. But I want, it's Don, it's a little nerve-wracking. Anytime something like this is happening, it's also exciting. I mean,
Yep.
You can look at it that way. But can you just tell us, I know you can't say any more than what you already said due to confidentiality, but what do these next steps really mean for CrossFit in the long term and the community?
Yeah. So you're right. There's a mix of, it is a bit nerve-wracking. There's a degree of uncertainty, but there's also a lot of excitement. And I know a lot of folks are feeling that uncertainty. I am going through the process, but I'm really excited about what this means for CrossFit. I think this is a really, really positive step forward. And so, for us, we've got an opportunity now to find, CrossFit's next owner, this next chapter. Hopefully someone, we talked about this a little bit, like, hopefully someone, who, has a connection to CrossFit, either a member of our community or someone who understands, CrossFit's incredible impact, our community, our methodology, our brand, someone who, really importantly understands our unique affiliate model, and someone who's really excited and sees all the opportunity. And, you captured it well. We have a process, and effectively what that boils down to for us is, we are in the stages of getting ready to go have a bunch of conversations. We're going to identify folks, and we've already had a bunch of folks kind of reach out who are interested after the announcement. We're going to go find other folks who we think could be an amazing owner for CrossFit. And then we get to talk to them. And this will be part of the process. I get a chance to sit down with them and talk about CrossFit, talk about the impact we've had, that CrossFit's had over the last 2 decades, talk about the power of the CrossFit methodology. Again, to this day, there is nothing like it in the world. We know that. There's nothing that changes lives like CrossFit does. We get to talk about this extraordinary community that, in over 150 countries, over 10,000 gyms, people waking up every day, changing lives. And, what we've done along the way is building a strong business as well. And so I'm really excited to talk to people about CrossFit, and more excited to talk about the opportunity in front of us. Like we have, we've talked about this a lot. Like the world is in a place right now where, people, our society, communities need CrossFit. There are so many folks who are suffering. And so I'm excited about the opportunity that exists here. There's nothing like CrossFit. I have absolute conviction and confidence that, we're going to be around for another 2.5 decades or more, because fundamentally we look back over the years, what CrossFit does is just so profoundly powerful and life-changing. So yeah, we're going to work through that process over the next couple of months. In the meantime, we're going to for all of us as a team are going to stay focused on doing our work to support the community and run seminars and create new coaches and get ready for the games. All of the things that we need to do to support the community and make sure that when folks show up every day at their affiliate, they're going to continue to have that life-changing experience.
Yeah, this next question is incredibly important. Did you receive my application? I think I'm highly qualified. I am the CEO of the Basement of Glory. And if not me, Don, there's an individual by the name of Jeffrey Lurie. He's the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. He knows success. He knows success. Super Bowl champ.
We see some. Well, Denise, I got to check my spam folder. It might be sitting there, but I'm going to get right on that.
Did you filter me, Don? You filter me into like a black hole, don't you?
I definitely don't do that.
I would. I would filter me.
You have your own. You actually have your own folder, so it doesn't just go into spam.
It's a special folder.
That's right.
All right. Well, can we maybe make a deal that when there is a decision made, that we can announce it here on the CrossFit Podcast? You can think about it. You can think about it.
Let me think about it, but that sounds like a good idea to consider.
I think that was
what we have said. What we are going to do is make sure that obviously the first folks to know is going to be our team. And then shortly thereafter, actually the commitment I made was to our owners, to our affiliates. They're going to hear it directly from us as well. So,
okay, fine. The affiliates can know before the CrossFit Podcast.
And then I'll respond to your email.
In the black
that
hole.
number 3 on the list.
In
That's
the
right.
filter. It's okay. 3's better than 4. Yeah, well, the internet's hot. There's obviously a lot of chatter about this, the sale, and something else that has been hot online at the minute is it's just been the Open and the numbers of registrants for the Open. They're down, and this last year has been hard for us. Numbers are down, but how would you describe the current position of CrossFit right now? Do you think that we're in a good spot as we enter this next stage?
Yeah. I think this is the third time since I've been here where we've had a little bit of the CrossFit is dying online narrative and spin. And my sense actually is if you go back to before my time, there were probably a bunch of other times, 2020, 2019, probably some times before that, when something happened in the community and you end up with, some of this chatter and speculation. I think candidly, it's the type of stuff that is easy to comment on online and you see show up in our endemic media community. And yet, again, 25 years later, many years after those stories were written, CrossFit continues to thrive. We continue to be in a place where we have more gyms than anyone else. We have more affiliates than anyone else. People are walking in the front door of their affiliate every day to be around the people that they care about, to get that best hour of their day. I was reminded of this actually, I mentioned before on Friday night, had the opportunity to drop in to Diablo CrossFit up in Pleasant Hill to do 25.3. And a lot of this stuff actually coming out of last week when we made the sale announcement, there's been so much chatter online. I've been thinking about this stuff a lot. And then I walked in the front door of Diablo. First thing I saw is Craig Howard. So Craig and Yvonne, owners of this gym, who are just exceptional, have created this incredible community. Craig is walking around in the theme was Party in the USA. So he's got on this, I don't know if it was like a cape or a robe, but it's got a huge screaming American Eagle on it. And, I look around the gym, I'm there with my daughter, and you've got what felt like hundreds of people doing what we do, doing what this community does during the Open. You got folks getting after it, doing the workout, you got people judging, and you got a ton of people cheering people on. And over the course of the next 2 to 3 hours, I got to meet, not me reaching out, people walking over to me, seeing someone they didn't recognize who was not a regular there, welcoming me to the gym, introducing themselves and telling me their stories. Whether they joined 3 months ago and this is their first Open and they're so grateful to have found Diablo and CrossFit, or folks who have been there 15 years talking about the relationships they've built. Got a chance to watch some crazy competitive athletes drop in just over 10 minutes And then some folks like me who are just happy to kind of survive it and get through it. My daughter and I did it right next to each other in the last heat. And there were a bunch of folks there kind enough to stick around till late at night, cheering my daughter on, cheering me on. And I just remember getting back in my car on Friday night, driving away and thinking about, like, this is what CrossFit is all about. This is why CrossFit is going to continue to flourish and continue to have a huge impact on the world. And we'll have our ups and our downs. There is no doubt that last year was hard, that this year is going to be hard. But if you look at the Open this year, yeah, our numbers are down. We expected them to be down, given what happened at the games last year. But we had 3 incredible Open announcements. Our team just did an exceptional job. The media and content around the Open was amazing. Our team is just crushing it there. Our sport team did an incredible job with everything from the programming to setting up the Open announcements. And you've got affiliates all around the world that are bringing their community together, in the same spirit of kind of joy and celebration that we saw, that, my daughter and I saw at Diablo on Friday night. So I couldn't be, this year is what happened last year was really hard. And it's going to take us some time to build back. We've got to build trust. We've got to rebuild some momentum. But I have huge confidence and conviction in the path forward. We've made investments in our team over the last couple of years that we're hitting our full stride. We've hired some amazing people. We brought our team together. We're executing on things really, really well. We're doing more for affiliates than we've ever done before. You're going to see a bunch of new stuff in the next couple months in the work that we do around education, some stuff we're really excited about. And we're getting ready to execute a really amazing, semifinals in CrossFit Games. Last thing I'd say on this is, on top of that, over the last couple of years, some of the things that we've been working on is shoring up our business, candidly, making some changes to how we operate and how we work. And that has been important because every business goes through its ups and downs. You look at any business that has stood the test of time, and I promise you there is a period where they went through some adversity. And what allows those companies, what allows businesses, communities like ours to thrive is having something that is so fundamentally powerful for people. We have that. And then making sure that we as a business are being really thoughtful about how we operate. So despite the challenges we're working through this year, our business is strong and healthy. And I'm really excited to be able to tell a story about this next chapter for whoever that next owner is, about the next X million lives that we're going to touch and change through CrossFit. And we will surpass where we were in the Open. We were on 4 straight years of growth before this year. We'll be back on that path in short order.
Well, I hate the Open, Don. So you will have one less sign up next year. Because it makes me do things I don't want to do, but I need to do. I love the Open. I got the opportunity to be at the 25.3, the announcement. I got to judge. Man, those cats are fast. Wow, they were fast. But everything you just said, it really was encapsulated there from media. Oh my gosh, the build-up, all the posts that they were putting out was just it was so nostalgic. And then even on site, from what the sports team did to the judging team to the broadcast team, Darlin and James and Jason, they had this kind of bromance together, and Tyson came in, and everything just felt so good. And to cap it all off, the affiliate, CrossFit Spur, brought all the community in as we do. And everybody was smiling. Everybody was fired up. There was something for everyone. And everything you just said about what the Open does and what it brings, you capture it in those affiliates. You experience it at Diablo, and that was happening all over the world, and that is special. And I think that I think it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't matter if it's 10,000 people that sign up or like a million, because that Open is going to change people's lives, as cheesy as that sounds. But yes, I hate the Open. The Open is horrible. Sign me up. Let's go. already.
Exactly.
Um,
That's why we hate it. We love it because we hate it. That's part of the reason.
it is at CrossFit Spur. Actually, I'm going to butcher the actual quote, but it said something like, "I hate this place. I'll see you tomorrow." That's what it said underneath there. I was like, "It's perfect. I hate this place. I hate these people. I'll see you tomorrow."
Totally.
All right, Don. Well, I like to end with the world is your oyster and dreams are free. That's what I like to say here on the CrossFit podcast. But as a CrossFitter, what do you want to see for CrossFit? As a CrossFitter, can you describe that?
I think at this moment in time, I want to see the community continue to come back together. The last, we've talked about this a bunch, but with all of the, what we experience inside that affiliate, we still have moments now. We still have some pockets where folks are processing what happened, or folks who are frustrated about something. And those frustrations are, understandable and human and natural. But we're at a time where, I hope to see, and I'm confident we will see over the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, that the same, cohesion and community and beauty that you see inside your affiliate, where people are unreservedly supportive and positive and understanding of each other, that we see that same type of dynamic play out across the entire community. And I know we have a huge responsibility in that. We need to lead through that. We need to bring people back together. And we're going to need the help of every one of our owners and every one of our coaches and all of our athletes, because I think what we're trying to do here is bigger than any individual one of us. Again, this sounds cliched, but we have something really in CrossFit that is so special and powerful. There is nothing like it. And we live at a time where so many people need it. And we are so much more powerful as one community. Even though we know we're going to disagree and sometimes be pissed at each other and angry and all that. But if we can harness this collective passion and community and bring people together, holy cow, we can make the next X years, X decades as impactful as the first couple of decades have been. So that's my hope for the community. And I know that I and we as a team have a really important role in that.
Yeah. You said earlier in this, just the clarity and the communication and consistency is something that we've lacked in years past and recent years past. And I think that getting that right is so important, and it feels like it's on the right track. But CrossFit saves lives. It saves lives, and it will for forever and ever and ever. And I think that's a really, I think about a life before CrossFit. I can't even remember really. In a way, I mean, I do, but in a way, I'm like, what? How do you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, Denise, having, for me, COVID with CrossFit was this moment of having something that was such a fundamental part of my life just taken away. And, I would still do my thing at home because, like everybody else, I was doing it by myself. And that for me was like, whoa. It gave me such an appreciation for it's not just like an hour a day at the gym. And I remember, I always tell people, I remember so vividly the first day that the whatever was lifted here in California, and I driving into the parking lot, I can see it, calling my wife. And, it was, you had to wear a mask and you had this little white, it was still ridiculous. But I remember calling my wife after the workout. She's like, everything okay? You're calling me at 7:02. I was like, yeah, I just wanted to call you to tell you how happy I am. Being given that gift back. So, when you were talking about that, the time before CrossFit, yeah, it was different. My life is so much richer now. And I know and hope that that's true for so many other people as well. And hopefully we can make it true for a lot of people who have not discovered it yet.
Yeah. The magic pill. The magic
That's
pill.
right.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank
you
you.
for sharing everything you shared and for digging deep. I always just have I'm a very curious person. I wanted to go down little rabbit holes about, well, what's your favorite CrossFit t-shirt? But we'll save that for another time. But thank you so much for spending this time with us. It's been a pleasure. I usually ask here, where can we find you? But I'm sure it's just don@crossfit.com. Send your emails.
That's right.
Send them in.
No. There we go. They're going to go to the same folder as yours email.
Yeah, the black hole. Number 4, number 5. No, thanks so much, Don. And I will see you on the Community Cup leaderboard.
See you there. I'll just be ahead of you. So you're going to have to scroll up a little bit.
That's fine. I can look up. All right. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Denise. Appreciate it.
Alrighty then. That was Don, folks. And I really enjoyed chatting with him, and I learned so much about his life and who he is beyond his title. But I got to tell you, next year, Don, I'm coming for you. I have one frenemy, and now I have 2. You're added to the list. Watch out. Okay, every week we highlight someone who is using CrossFit to do good in the world. And this week we're highlighting Brian Boucher. And Brian is awesome. He and his wife, Gabby, opened Midstate CrossFit in 2014 out of Merced, California. Now, a couple of things that stand out about Brian that I just have to tell you about. First, Midstate runs a program for adaptive athletes, which started completely organically when Adam, an athlete with autism, walked through the doors looking for some training. The program then grew to be a state-sanctioned program, and Brian simply just used the universal scalability of CrossFit to deliver a service that changed Adam's life forever. Oh, and when Brian told us about Adam, he definitely let us know that it was a tear-jerking level of badassery from that kid. So heck yeah, Adam, well done. Now, the other thing about Brian, which I think is so awesome, is that he will mail handwritten birthday cards to every member, and he will text them a lot to check in on their goals and progress. His level of care is literally through the roof. He really puts in the work. And it sure is working for them, because Midstate CrossFit has 200 members, 11 coaches, and a gym manager. They are the epitome of excellence. So in appreciation for his service, CrossFit is giving Brian a level 1 or level 2 of his choosing. Now listen up, everyone, because here it is. If you know someone who deserves to be highlighted for their service, please let us know through the link in the show notes. And that's it for today, everyone. So thank you so much for listening. It really means a lot. We love you guys. So go out there, make good choices, and we'll see you next time for another episode of the CrossFit Podcast. Mwah. Don, I need your opinion on something, because Heather Lawrence at the 25.3 announcement made fun of my bow ties here. And I always bow tie my stringies. I just like it. It makes me feel good. And Heather come up to me and she undoes it. And she said, it looks like it just came out the washer. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, don't you tie them when you put them in the washer? I'm like, no. She's like, well, I never knew that. But anyway, what do you think? Can I keep the bow tie, or do I have to go straight lace?
Look, I'll just leave you with this. I hadn't noticed it. Probably should have, because it's quite distinctive.
Well, now I can't miss it.
Yeah, when you pointed it out, my first thought was my daughter does this May Day performance where they dress up like Puritans from back in the Revolutionary War, and they have to wear these costumes as a part of it. And so that was the first thing that came to mind.
That's not,
that doesn't have to be. Well, I realized that you guys were on the losing side of that whole battle, but
we just dropped the dead weight. Okay. We just dropped the dead weight. I still not sure if that's a compliment or not, but I'm going to take it. I'll be a Puritan. Let's go.
For sure.
Heather Lawrence. It stays.
There you go, Heather.
Stays.